Sonic 3 is better than Deadpool and Wolverine. Maybe a bit of a hot take, but after watching Sonic movie actually less than 3 days ago, I wanted to make a video talking about why I feel the movie is maybe not so more better, but maybe for me, what I feel that it did better after so. And just to give some disclaimers here, I am a Sonic fan from my childhood. I'm not so much invested since. I think the last mainline Sonic game I played was Sonic Unleashed, and I really like that game, but I'm not really a big Sonic fan. Likewise, I think I'm a bigger Wolverine fan than a Deadpool fan, so I think my take is going to be a little bit biased, but also a little bit neutral because I don't have a ton of invested into either franchise at this point. After seeing the Sonic movie, maybe I'll be more invested going forward, but it's just something that I wanted to throw out there before I talk about it. And I think overall, I think the first thing the Sonic 3 did better than Deadpool and Wolverine was have overall a better and more structured plot. Sonic 3's plot is pretty simple and it's pretty straightforward. Stop Shadow, Gerard, and Dr. Robotnik from destroying the world. Well, from basically stop controlling the world, because they think that Robotnik and Gerard just want to rule over humanity when it's revealed that Gerard wants to destroy humanity, as Shadow does as well. And I think this simplicity allows the movie to be easily enjoyed by a wider audience. And overall, I think it's simple, but for a Sonic movie, that's pretty much the flow of it. While Deadpool and Wolverine's plot, while simple on paper, features way more detours that can take away from the severity of the situation the movie is trying to set up. Deadpool was initially offered to be relocated to another timeline, one in which he'll matter, or more so be more important than his current one, which is dying, which is revealed at the TVA. But he rejects it because he finds out his own timeline is going to be erased, so his loved ones will cease to exist. And he ultimately gets into the void after trying to recruit Wolverine to fix him and be his anchor being. And this is fine on its own, but the problem is that when you start getting to the thick of the movies, there are so many cameos, references, etc., that honestly just take away from the main plot. And you might argue, oh, those are important to the movie. Sure, but me seeing Sabretooth, Human Torch, is not necessarily important to the overall movie because those two characters don't appear after their initial scene. So a lot of it just feels like kind of not dragging, but a lot of detours that kind of leaves you feeling a little bit like we're not making much progress. And then next thing you know, we're meeting Sandra Nova. So those type of things just make the plot a lot more complicated than need be, in my opinion. And while Sonic 3 also has a lot of references and, cameos to games, I feel it's much more in the background. It's a lot more secondary and doesn't take up the majority of the screen time. For example, I think the most blatant one is when they're at the Chow Garden Cafe. Chow's are Sonic characters, but after that, they don't ever be brought up again. They're not really something that we need to know about. And I think that really shows that they weren't really thinking of clogging down with references because everything on that is a reference is connected to the game. For example, in Sonic 3, near the end of this movie, they use the song Live and Learn. And while this might seem like huge fan service pandering, it fits with the narrative of the movie. One of the narratives is that Sonic is trying to live and learn from his experiences, to better his mistakes. And he forgets this near the end of the movie when he goes after Shadow, despite resistance from Knuckles and Tails, who are his teammates now, rather than just, it's Team Sonic, but they still want to be equals. So then he confronts Shadow, and then when they start teaming up, it plays Live and Learn, and you really get the sense that Shadow learned from his mistake of being just fueled by vengeance, and so did Sonic as well. Through this, they see eye to eye and are able to team up near the end. And this is kind of done in Deadpool and Wolverine when, in the beginning, they use a Deadpool killing or versus the TVA and the song Bye 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 by NSYNC to establish the goofiness of the film and overall not serious stakes. But I argue this doesn't feel well it doesn't really feel well because the movie is trying to get Deadpool as this kind of identity crisis type of thing, that he wants to be taken more seriously and wants to be more important, yet they have a scene of him dancing in the beginning of the movie. So I get what they're trying to do with it. It is definitely a funny scene on its own, but if you put it into the movie and you try to go with everything Deadpool is trying to accomplish, it kind of justifies why the TVA, why Happy Hogan, and why Wolverine, all these characters look down on him, because he's literally dancing while murdering people, and it's something that I really, after watching the Sonic movie, see how it could have been done. Yeah, if they wanted to they do put multiple songs in the movie, and I feel like the songs are good songs on their own, but inclusion to the movie, it's not something that I particularly think works as well as the Sonic 3 movie. And that is that is to say, because the Sonic 3 moment that I'm talking about is one of the best moments of the movie, as it pays homage to Sonic Adventures 2 and recreates Shadow's sacrifice out of his love for Maria. And then they then proceed to fight that small army of Omegas. And Deadpool and Wolverine does this similarly as they team up to fight the army of Deadpools, which is really hyped up, but in my opinion, done much worse. Okay, so to put it to you this way, after causing a scene of intense carnage, which is amazing to see in a Deadpool and Wolverine movie, they have to be, blood and guts everywhere. You have to have that. And after we see that, all the Deadpools proceed to regenerate, and it opens up for Peter to basically be like the one who stops them, essentially. My problem with that is the hype that went into that scene, and overall, like, the huge marketing and everything, like the iconic Deadpool and Wolverine walkout. My problem is that then this whole thing was pointless because they just regenerate afterwards. So it's just something that, was it really that cool? Like, I loved the scene in the moment, but to know, like, oh, they're gonna get back up, so it doesn't really matter. Like, literally none of them die from that. It's just them. And also, just a side note, problem is that how did they not suspect they would regenerate? The only reason Nice Pool didn't regenerate is because he's literally anti-Deadpool. He's nice. He has a pretty face. Like, he's like the antithesis of a regular Deadpool. I'm not sure how they didn't know that. Like, or I just found that weird. So imagine if in Sonic 2 and 3, they actually just respawned after Shadow and Sonic destroy all the Omegas. Like, that would take away from the impact of the scene and make it less cool, in my opinion. And it suffers from what Sonic 1 and 2 suffers from, is that in Sonic 1 and 2, a lot of focus was put on side characters, or more so the non-important characters. Like, Peter is funny, and I do like him in Deadpool 2, but I don't need him as much in Deadpool 3. He literally plays a central role many times in Deadpool 3. And it's really, opinionated and really subjective if you're really a fan of him or not. For me, I'm not the biggest fan, so I think he overstayed his welcome in Deadpool and Wolverine. But that in Sonic 3, I figured out that Tom and Maddie should not be central to the movie. They can have decent sized roles, but they don't need to be influencing the movie. Tom does kind of play an influence because he gets hurt by Shadow, hurts him, knocks him out, and that rages Sonic and it causes him to abandon Knuckles and Tails. But notice how that flows way better than just Peter spawns and Peter is like, it's Peter Pool. Like, for me, it doesn't flow as well, and that might just be me being not the biggest Peter fan. I'm not a Peter stan, It's just not something I'm into. Especially in a movie Deadpool and Wolverine that was hyped for quite a while. And it's not to take away from what the movie accomplished. The movie gave us another great performance by Hugh Jackman. Gave us the return of Daph Keen, as X-23. So really, a lot of it was really done well, and I think it's one of my favorite movies of the year. And I would say, after watching Sonic 3, though, I have to think Sonic 3 is strong. I can say definitely it's better, and I enjoyed it. Now, that's not to take away from anything it did, and also, I don't want to just be compared to them indefinitely. I think Sonic 3 is its own movie, and overall, I gave it a higher rating than I did with Deadpool and Wolverine, because I think to the general public, it's easier to digest, it's easier to watch, and overall, it's easier to enjoy. Now, you can disagree with me because, like I said, I have some bias, but I think my bias kind of neutralized the fact that I like them equally. It's not as if I love Sonic way more than I love Wolverine. So, it's something that I just want to talk about because I had been thinking about it a couple of days. Which movie do I think is better? And I think Sonic 3 is better than Deadpool and Wolverine, which might be a bit of a shock. I didn't think that when I was going into the theaters, but after leaving, I said this movie is better. And I think the weakest thing about Sonic 3 is the fact that really there's not enough. I think there's times where it does kind of drag. a tiny bit. Overall, I think the plot moves fast enough, no pun intended, with the characters it has. And I think everyone does a good job. This is my favorite. Like, I think Knuckles was good in Sonic 2, but in Sonic 3, he's actually probably my favorite character. Sonic is good, but Ben Schwartz as Sonic has never really, tickled my fancy. It's really been okay. I've always been a fan of Roger Craig's Sonic, or even some earlier Sonics. So overall, I like the movie better, and I just wanted to share my opinion on that. Feel free to disagree with me. It's something that's certainly not a mild take I'm standing on. So yeah, I just want to give my thoughts.